All right, everyone, welcome to Motherhood Madness and Marvels. This is episode 1, so I really want to talk about how I came up with the name. I'll get my act together and get a tripod for like the car or wherever I am. But Stephanie here, and this page is going to be dedicated to mothers who are seeking to become entrepreneurs or already entrepreneurs. Pretty much I am dedicating all of my efforts, entrepreneurial efforts, and really life goals centered around being a mother. I am a wife and mother, but really, truly kind of the challenges, motivations, and daily struggles and wins, because it's not all bad from a negative viewpoint of navigating this thing we call motherhood. So first, I'd like to get into the name. Now, I'm going to link several businesses that I have, but the name actually came about. This is going back maybe 2017, 18. Formerly, I have a business called Our 28 Days. Long story short is to educate women about their reproductive cycle from first period to menopause. But with that, I developed a game called Mommy Charades, Motherhood Madness and Marvels. And I think at that year, I had already my first child and had just given birth. I was pregnant with my second child. And the name has stuck with me because I feel like it encompasses everything that's wonderful about being a mom. And even though you could be like chaotic and navigating motherhood during this time that we're living in, but also it's always marvelous from when your baby says your mama for the first time, or walks, or goes to preschool, or the marvels are really like every day you have a mom win. But that is really how I came up with the name. So on this channel, we will talk about entrepreneurship from a motherhood perspective and kind of share how you can navigate it. So now that I've explained the name, introduced myself, I want to dedicate this video to if you're trying to decide what type of business to open, or you've actually already opened a business, navigate how you want to fit that into motherhood. I'm going to talk a little bit in terms of type of businesses and how that could affect, so you could have some food for thought. Okay, so one, I've jotted some things down here, and I have little narration to talk about with each of them. When you're deciding if you want to do a business where you manage inventory, okay? So there are all these drop shipping stores and sites, and I'm not making pretend to be an expert. Throughout all the videos, I'll talk about what stage I am in my business. So definitely, I don't have 8-figure, 7-figure. I'm a beginning entrepreneur, and I'll let you know where I am exactly with each business. But in terms of inventory, think about if you can keep and track inventory in your home, or if it's more of a drop shipment type of business. And the reason I say that, this little pearl of wisdom that I acquired with Our 28 Days, that has been technically open for a while, but now I'm revamping it. I went out, figured out how to get items from China and the whole thing, the whole nine, posted items on Amazon, did the FBA, and I'll talk more about that in subsequent videos, but there's plenty of videos out there. And I had a lot of inventory in my home, and years later, we're in 2022, I still have some inventory in my home. And I realize that, and I'll walk you through to some other businesses, that for me, psychologically, having inventory in your home, the pressure to mail something out at that moment, or when you walk by it, it should serve as a motivation, but honestly, for me, it kind of didn't. It affected me psychologically to where I put inventory in the closet. And I'm one of those perfectionists or ever changing, and I've just accepted that about my personality traits, and we'll talk about that. So it's not good for me to have inventory in my home where I want to modify the product or adjust the product. I have all this sun here and I'm just trying to fix it. Modify the product or adjust the product. So that's just something to think about. I'll talk a lot about getting a pen and paper. Just get a pen and paper and decide if it's an inventory business and if it's items you have stock or drop shipping or anything like that. So I wanted to throw that out there. Another thing is that really I am a big proponent of putting like work-life balance with whether you're working in corporate America or work life, because entrepreneurial is work. Be honest to how big you want your business to get. And when I say that, people kind of might say, I'm not a proponent of capping myself, but everyone's situation is different in the sense that whether married mother, single mother, bringing in two incomes, one income, your financial objectives, building generational wealth, like wherever you are, you kind of have to see your goals monetarily for the business, in terms of, do you need it to handle your day-to-day bills? Like, is your family, your children living off the business? Is the income from the business going to be your family's investment income for a second property? Is it going to be your income for activities for the children? Really, truly, because it's really different if your business is your sole income for the household or a good majority of the income for the household. And those are things that you really have to delve into your finances to decide, kind of like engage what your business needs to bring in, okay? And so I'm not a financial expert, but I have found out personally for myself, we have dual incomes, but I work in corporate America, and I'll do another video. And I actually left my job last year full-time, August 2021. So I've been doing entrepreneurship full-time ever since then. And so really there is a sense of having to bring in what my job brought in. And so this channel's geared towards mothers. And I think as women, we really have to take a look at our financial situation in terms of providing for children, not providing supplemental, etc. So I think that's number 2. So 1, the inventory aspect, and actually I'll make finances number 1, and then probably put the inventory aspect number 2 if I was rating them in terms of priority. 3, because this is motherhood and entrepreneurship, is it a passive business or active business? And I want to share a little story. I actually have made a conscientious decision to only engage in businesses because my family, we do have several, but my role that I'll play in them and what businesses I start or participate to where it is more of a passive, or I would like to say control my schedule. So let me give you an example. I have my primary number 1 business, my baby, I like to say, our bread and butter is that I own a private occupational school. And so with the school, I teach a lot in a hybrid format, and I'm gonna put the link. I actually have another YouTube page, Nurse Stephanie Victoria. I'll put the link there, and it's teaching because we offer certificate programs for nursing assistant, home health aide, EKG, all of that. So if you want to take a look, you can, and I'll always share along with my journey. But with that business, it is not passive, but I can control my schedule, which is for me number one, because I want to be home in the evenings with my children, to do homework, we put all their activities in the evenings, and we'll talk about those activities. Mothers, maybe if your child is an infant, it might not be so much, but definitely 4 and up, you understand what I mean. And so with controlling my schedule, most of my classes are hybrid, where I have spent the time and curated my content online. And then being that a majority of them are healthcare certificates, a good portion of them require in-person lab, which I love teaching. I'm a natural born educator. And so my lab schedule, for the most part, I schedule it every other week. And I literally can look at my kids' school calendar, and I start 9:30 and end probably in time to pick up my children from school. Maybe once a week I will maybe have, see if my husband could pick them up. But it's very much, I've created a mom schedule for myself in terms of lab, and then also doing it every other week. And that gives me the week in between to do emails and marketing, things where I could be at home. But with teaching, of course, extremely professional. I don't cancel class on my students, but given that it's not life or death, if there's an emergency with my child, I can reschedule a lab or make it up in some simulation fashion. So when I say your schedule, people like to put it into 2 categories: passive income or active income. Mine technically is active, but I think there's more subcategories in that, and where the control of my schedule is extremely important to me. So in healthcare, for example, I could have easily opened a staffing agency because I have all access to CNAs as my students graduate, right? But I made the differentiation between staffing, where I would get a phone call at 6 a.m. that someone hasn't shown up and had to do something, and so then therefore that business would control my schedule, versus placing a client as permanent placing. And so with me, the subtle difference was the control of my schedule. And I think I'm gonna have to do a whole video on this, because as mothers, as entrepreneurs, wives, girlfriends, and caretakers of the home, you know that your schedule is everything. So we talked about finances, we talked about your inventory, talked about control of the schedule. And I know I mentioned inventory first because it was just top of mind, but as I say the other things, I'm realizing that inventory wasn't even the most important. So these are not in any particular schedule. The sun is like crazy. I'm in the car. Moms also know about that car life, right? And so control of the schedule is control of your time. And I'm going to give you a couple more. We'll come back to this video because I don't want this first video to be too long, but to kind of give you a sense of how this page is going to be. One, is it a business? Do you want to be the face of the business, or your children the face of the business? And to what extent and to what capacity? Now, every day I modified that a little bit. I opened the school and I didn't really go immediately to YouTube and things like that. But now it's almost like a necessity. And so we've sat down and had some conversations, like to what extent, and face of the business, I'll say even more so advertising, like people in my local area, the school, I kind of put a banner on my car that I drive. And recently I changed car and actually took it off. Not that any negative experiences happened, but sometimes when I was with my children, like people would come up to me and things of that nature. So I don't know that I have the right answer, but I know enough to know that it is food for thought and something that you want to think about. So with my eldest child, when we have CPR days at the school, I've actually had her come in and help with CPR and help with some of the labs. And so she is incorporated in the business, because we're here to try to build generational wealth and set up good examples. So I would say I'm beginning to incorporate my children, but really watching how I do it, if that makes sense, and really paying attention to how I present myself on social media. So again, I'm not this established brand that's been in it for 20 years that has all the answers. I'm hoping to build a community where we grow together, but it's some of my concerns and kind of step by step, and maybe something will happen where I'll change direction, and I'll always update you on that. But I think that is something to think about. Okay, so what number are we on? We've gotten, like, if it's an inventory business, we've got control your time or your schedule. We've got look at your finances, really what financial obligation or amount that you want to be kind of laid upon the business bringing into your family. So what else did I say here? Kind of like the passive, active conversation too. If you're the face of the business, and we live in a digital world, so a digital business to me just makes sense because I'm an educator and I teach, my field is like nursing, so I could teach education, health education. So I'm incorporating that, like I said, the hybrid courses, type of business. And another thing I wanted to say too is that a business inevitably will take time away from your children, right? To some aspects, although you're controlling your schedule, it will take some time away. So I found that I'll only do something where it is a love or passion or creative outlet. Teaching is a creative outlet. It's something that I do. We have other things coming down the pipeline. Our 28 days is a passion for me. And so I'll explain in another video like how that came about. And so if there's going to be sacrifices made on my family's behalf, I don't want it to be like robotic, boring, or not something that I'm not passionate about, which is one of the reasons I left kind of the work environment. And so I was always passionate about teaching, but passionate about the people I worked for and kind of that environment. So I always say, in putting your children or your family first, really take time to see what you can contribute to the world that they'd be proud of. And that is not, you're not going to regret sacrificing some family time, because you are. Like, if that activity is not incorporating your children or your family or your situation at the moment, it is taking time. So when we kind of say we could be 100% here and 100% there, you can't. So if today I have to do a longer day because, it hit the fan, I'm thrilled to do that, and it's not draining me. Whereas, like, why would I do that when I could have been at home with my children? Okay, so I think those are a couple. And I like to end with, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna get a tripod and try to. The sun is like crazy. This dress is crazy, and I'm trying to just like fix myself here, but I'm always going to end the video with like a mommy win in terms of entrepreneurship and being a mother. And the biggest mommy win is that we are in October, and I actually took the month of September, didn't have any in-person labs. My school was constantly enrolling, but like I said, they start online because it's hybrid. So we made a decision. I made a decision. I ran labs every week in August, which I usually run every other, just so I could have September off, so I can get my children settled into their school year. And our youngest started school. She had been home this whole time, and she started preschool. So my mommy win is that the first month of September went well for all three of my children, especially my youngest starting preschool, and she started her activities, which is dance. And so it was a big month for her. and kind of the family, our schedule, the school chaos, pickup, drop off, all of that has been sorted out and ironed out. And for me, that is a mommy win. So definitely like and subscribe to this video and share your mommy wins below, because as long as my home is functioning great, my businesses will function as well. And that mommy win actually really showed me, I already knew why entrepreneurship is the way to go, because you know that working, it would be difficult to take a full month off, right? And so I can schedule my time accordingly. So I hope you enjoyed this first kind of video. I didn't even upload it in podcast, so what's it called, the vlog? I'm not sure, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this first episode. Welcome to Motherhood Madness and Marvels, and we're all in it together, and definitely build something great for your children in the future. All right, take care. Bye.